Music Fundamentals, Week 7, Clefs and Transpositions. I'm Richard Freemantle. A clef is a symbol that appears at the far left of any staff. This symbol tells you where the staff is pitched. For instance, the clef we have seen most often so far is called the G clef or the treble clef. It is called the G clef because the little curl at the bottom surrounds the line G. Also because it looks kind of like an old-fashioned G. This G is a specific G, located a fifth above middle C. Middle C is the invisible ledger line between the piano treble staff and bass staff. It's right in the middle of the keyboard. It's right in the middle of all the instrumental ranges. It's called the treble clef because it is used by the high treble instruments, including the right hand, the high hand of the piano. The other most often used clef is called the F clef or bass clef. It's called the F clef because the two dots at the top surround the line F, the second line from the top. Also because it looks kind of like an old-fashioned F. This F is a specific F, located a fifth below middle C. It's called bass clef because it is used by the low bass instruments, including the left hand, the low hand of the piano. The movable C clef is the least commonly used of the three commonly used clefs, but it still appears often enough that we have to deal with it. It's always a subject in music theory classes, and musicians have to be able to read the middle C clef. The violists read it all the time. The tenor trombones sometimes read it when it goes up high, the tenor clef, I mean. And the tenor clef is sometimes used in high cello music, but you hardly ever see any of these other ones except in Renaissance music. In the Renaissance, they hated drawing ledger lines. So rather than have the music go below or above the staff, they simply changed the clef to make the notes fit. And sometimes within a single piece, you could see 4 or 5 clef changes right after each other. People were able to do this, and they understood how to quickly move from one position on the staff to another. Wish it were so today. To transpose means to move music from one place to another, tonally speaking. It can mean simply moving music from one clef to another. For instance, the following notes, middle C, D, E, may appear 3 different ways on 3 different clefs. Yet this notation represents the exact same pitches. Here it is in treble clef. Here it is in bass clef. Here it is in alto clef. Now the whole business of transposition is a very important aspect of the study of music. Not only, as we've seen, do you need abilities to transpose from one clef to another, which implies going from one instrument to another, but there's a deeper issue involved here. The whole spirit of Western music is tied up in this idea of development. To develop something means to play around with it. Now we looked at, for instance, the Beethoven Fifth opening, which is based on this motive. Now this motive moves around, and every time it moves to a different place, it's called transposed. So here, we do it down a second, and then it goes on, and then each one of those is, in a sense, a transposition. They're not exact transpositions, and we'll be very clear about that later. But whenever a melody is moved around from place to place, it's called development. And in order to develop a tune, you have to automatically transpose it. So understanding the interval content of melodies and then taking them as a template from here and putting it here, or rather starting here and going here, or starting here and going here. You have to understand that in order to understand what's going on in a piece of music. You certainly have to do it when you're playing a piece of music because, for instance, a transposition is very often the same fingering on a different string or the same fingering on a different lip position and whatnot, you know. So Um, transposition is important to understand at an abstract level, but it's also important to understand from a practical level.